we have a special guest in the studio. I mean, it's safe to say 2019 has been a very fantastic year for Nigerian fighters in the UFC. First of all was Kamaru Usman, UFC 235. Then Israel Adesanya, UFC 236. And we have another highly rated prospect in the house now who's looking to emulate those two guys now. Sadiq Yusuf is his name. Is born in Nigeria, Lagos to be precise, and is based in Camp Springs, Maryland, age 26. His nickname is Super. Octagon debut was in December 02, 2018. And we're going to give you a bit of his profile now. He fights in the featherweight. He's won 10 bouts. UFC wins 3 in a row. Just 1 loss. And he's looking very, very good right now. It's great to have you in the studio, Sadiq Yusuf.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. I mean, it sounded like I just put a lot of pressure on you by mentioning those two guys, Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman. But we're not going to start from there. Let's just start with you, and let's talk about where it all started from the Contender Series until your journey to the UFC.
Well, from the very beginning or getting the contract?
No, from the very beginning. Yeah, just a little summary. Yeah.
Well, the first time I saw the UFC on TV, it kind of clicked right away. It was a dream of mine ever since I was a little kid, you know. And the moment I first saw it, I told my mom, I was like, "Hey, when I grow up, that's what I'm gonna do."
Wow.
You know. So as soon as I graduated high school, I focused full time on training. You know. So even though I haven't been competing I haven't been training as much as the people that are in the UFC. If you count out how much time I spend actually training in the rooms, like my hours is equal to them, if not more.
Okay, I mean, you just talked about when you were a kid, I mean, you started watching and all that. But UFC, if we check, I mean, it's just recently there's actually gaining mixed martial arts. It's gaining, you know, more popularity and all that. How were you able to watch that?
So back then it was very underground. You know, it wasn't as big as a sport as it is now. It was on Spike TV, and even back then when I first saw it, I was like, what is this craziness? But it drew me right away. You know, like. Even then, when I went back to school and talked to my friends about it, they didn't know. They thought I was talking about WWE. They thought I was talking about wrestling. But only I knew about it, and it was just like love at first sight.
Where was that, in Nigeria or?
That was in America.
In America.
That was I think I was selling like primary school over there.
Okay, that's where you discovered that.
Yes.
Okay, now tell us about your first contract. Tyler mentioned it. I mean, when you signed your first contract, of course, your first bout.
Okay, so the president of the UFC, Dana White, he created this show where he would find the best prospects that aren't in the UFC. The UFC is where every fighter wants to be. Like, all of us want to get there sooner or later. Exactly. So his show was, I'm going to find all the best people in the country that aren't in the UFC yet. I'll make them fight each other, and the best person gets a contract. And I went out there, and I put on a show, and I got signed.
So that was the Contender Series, right?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, let's talk about the UFC now. Your big fight, your big night, UFC 241. Did you expect to be doing one of the biggest, cards of the year after such a short time in the UFC? After just about 2 UFC night fights?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. That's why when I got the news that I was gonna even be on the card at all, I thought I was gonna be like one of the first fights of the night where like there's not that many people in the arena yet, you know. And then they told me it's like, no, you're gonna be on the pay-per-view card, and I was super excited, you know. The president talked to me right before the weigh-ins. He was like, hey, you know, your fight has one of the most views on YouTube right now.
Wow.
And one is from the Nigerian people, you know, because I rep the country so hard, and I'm always having the flag on. I'm always talking about the country. And another thing is just the way I fight is really exciting.
Exciting.
So like I know I'm gonna draw a lot of eyes. And as soon as I found out I was on the pay-per-view card, I told everybody, I told my coaches, I told everybody, I said, hey, this one's gonna get a little shaky because I'm gonna take some risks, you know, just to make it exciting. You know, I'm gonna either get a first round finish, or I'm gonna make it a fight of the night.
Wow, fantastic! And your performance couldn't be more emphatic. That was against Gabriel Benitez.
Yeah,
Tell us about that one. First round KO.
Yeah. So with Gabriel, it's funny. It's like I've been watching him since I was even in the UFC. You know, I think he was 25-7 by the time we fought, so he had 32 fights. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. So I already knew about him, and he's a very good guy. You know. So if you go on my YouTube, you see a video of me talking to him backstage, and I was like, hey, I've been a fan of yours forever, you know, but I can't tell him before the fight. That way until the fight is over, you know.
Yeah.
So I've been a fan of him before I even got into the UFC.
Right.
So with that said, I've been able to watch him for a long time. I know his weaknesses, and I know what he's good at, you know. So I was like, I'm gonna take some risk and make it exciting, but there's certain stuff that I'm gonna practice on how to throw, and then I know if I land him in a fight, it's gonna be over, you know. He's very strong with his left hands, and he throws it a lot, right down the pipe, straight all the time.
Right.
And I was like, I drilled it a lot with my opponent. I'm very strong with my right hand, and I stand on the opposite side. So my goal was to pull down his hand when he threw a straight left hand. I was gonna try to pull it down and come back over my right.
Wow.
So that's what I did. I was able to pull it over. It still skinned my eye just a little bit, but I was still able to get it out the way and land my right hand. I know once it connects, it's over.
And it was really over for Gabriel Benitez on the day, and the reactions to that particular performance was quite interesting as well. Too, you had the likes of Kamaru and Israel and all these other top fighters going on social media to like give you like serious props. How did you take all that?
Yeah, those are my boys, man. They've been with me from the beginning, you know. Especially Kamaru's been with me from before I even got into UFC. When I was on the local shows, he used to give me advice and stuff like that because he got there before all of us, you know.
Right.
Israel got there afterwards, but he's such a big star and he has such a bright personality that he's able to like move right up the ranks pretty quick.
True.
But there's a solidarity amongst not just Nigerians but Africans in the UFCs, you know. Like the Nigerians is a little bit closer because we communicate with each other a little bit more, but we kind of want all of us to shine because sooner or later we're planning on bringing it back home.
Right.
And like I say it all the time, I say, hey, this sport is built for us, man. I say Nigerians are built for struggle.
True.
And I mean that in a positive way because no matter how bad things are going in our country or how bad things are going in our life, we don't show it in our face, you know. We're endure, and I feel like that's one of my best attributes. I'm good at enduring. Like people see my power and they just think like, oh man, he's just a strong African guy.
Yeah.
But they don't see the time that I spent in the gym going through the hardships, like going through the struggle, and that's what provides me the wins at the end of the day.
Fantastic.
Talking about those struggles, I mean, I remember December 2018 and all that when you had to fight Suman Mokhtarian. At that time, you were going through a whole lot. I mean, you didn't allow it to show. You just went into the bout and you won it.
Yeah, that's why I said, man, we're built for struggle. Like the week before that was when I found out my brother passed away. And my mom and the rest of my family, they kind of hid it away from me because they said they didn't want that to affect the fight. They didn't want that to be going through my mind. And what people outside of fighting don't know is like the actual event of my brother passing away, that's not what puts the pressure on you, you know, because that's life. It's going to be sad, and I'm going to have to just focus on the fight and get past it. But me thinking about the fact that my family doesn't want it to affect me, that's the pressure. You get it? Okay. It's like it's kind of like a weird twist. It's like the pressure doesn't come from the fact that the sad news might affect me. It comes from the fact that my family thinks the sad news is going to affect me, you know? So I just had to lock in and stay completely focused. When in 2016, I think that was my only loss ever, from amateur to pro. And one of the biggest lessons I took from that loss was how to stay locked in during the fight. No matter what you do, when you get in a fight, it's mostly all mental. Because if you run an extra 10 miles the week before, that's not going to help you get to the fight any better. Everything from that point on is just mental. So I started reading a lot of books about sports psychology and stuff like that, and just how to stay locked in, stay on your job, stay thinking about what you have to do.
Interesting. And last one before we let you go. Let's talk about your title prospects now. The featherweight division is quite stacked, and Max Holloway is the undisputed champion. How far away from you from a title shot? And that's a bit too early, but what are you thinking?
Right now, the main job right now is to get ranked, which I definitely see happening if not the next fight. If I'm not ranked before the next fight, I'm definitely going to be ranked after the next fight. And after I get that ranking, I just got to climb up the ladder. So the way I see it realistically will be like towards the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021.
Right now, you're going to be having a fight in December. So tell us about that.
So that's what I'm actually shooting for. Right now, usually I'm a pretty go with the flow kind of guy. You know, I don't like to make a lot of waves. But I told him after the fight, I was like, hey, I don't care who the opponent is, but let me fight December 7th, you know, because I stay pretty close to Washington, D.C. I remember the last time they were there, I was a little kid and my family was too poor to afford tickets to go to the UFC. So I was like, man, me fighting on that card would make a great all the way come around story.
Interesting. And you mentioned something about bringing UFC back to Africa. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a better time with the exploits of African fighters right now?
Yeah, honestly, I see like the president and even the company, they see the power that we have over here. You know, there's a big market in Africa that they haven't been able to tap into yet. And I tell them all the time, there's a big athletic market that they haven't been able to tap into yet. Once the sport blows up here, the UFC is probably going to be painted with Africans, you know. And I honestly, after my last fight, one of the reporters asked him about it, and he said, "Hey, we're going to try to get it done." And I think they're going to try to get it done, if not the end of next year, at least early 2021.
Okay, finally, before we let you go, I've seen some pictures and videos of you and your mom actually sparring or something. It's really remarkable because I know most mothers, when their sons want to go into, fights like boxing, UFC, wrestling and all that, really don't like it. But you, it's a different thing.
Yeah. Honestly, just like any other African mom, she kind of had her
reservations.
Yeah, she had her reservations about it. But I'm her son. Everything I get from training, I got it directly from her. Like when people see her at the gym, they're like, "Oh, that's where he gets it from." My work ethic comes directly from her. When we got over there to the U.S., we had to struggle for a long, long time, and it was just her providing for me and my little brother. So I've seen her put her nose to the ground and just get the work done. And whenever things are going bad for me in training or like sparring is getting a little bit too rough, that's what I think about. And it took a little bit of time for me to convince her to come to the gym before I was going by myself. But, she's a little bit older and I want her to be healthy. I want her to take care of herself. So I was like, "Hey, please come to the gym with me." At first she didn't want to come. I had to drive her there. But then after I drove her like 2 times, she started coming by herself and she's in love with it.
And she got used to it. It's fantastic stuff. So 2 things before we go now. Dana White better make that call ASAP. And what else, Cecilia?
We need to let you go.
Dana White needs to make that call. That's the most important thing.
Make the call. So I will be expecting something December 7th.
Thank you all for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
All right.